and welcome to Jessie Bear Book Club. Today we are talking about Feud on Disney+. I watched Feud when it came out in 2017 and absolutely loved it, so now I am rewatching it for this review. In the first episode, it really sets the scene for the Joan Crawford, Bette Davis battle. I love the old Hollywood sets and fashion. Joan, played by Jessica Lange, and Bette, played by Susan Sarandon, really look like the actual women. I have always vaguely known about this feud because Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is one of my mum's favourite movies. The concept of this TV show, of two fading beauties and female rivals, is timeless. I love how Crawford went out and found Baby Jane for herself, because nobody in Hollywood was making women's pictures. The music in this show is really good and sets the mood perfectly. Also, any woman can see themselves as a Crawford or a Davis. I would want to be a Joan Crawford type, but I know I'm more of a Bette Davis. I want to look demented. So me. This second episode is called The Other Woman. You get a bit of background in this episode about the chemical hatred between Joan and Bette, and the Hollywood relationship with the press. I do enjoy seeing Head of the Hat, played by Judy Davis, and the way the director stirs the pot. Women do what they always do when they're cornered. They eat their own. The third episode is called Mummy Dearest and focuses on Bette and Joan's mothering style and their relationships with their own mothers. Joan had an absolutely horrendous childhood, and I can't wait to read her book. Bette, on the other hand, was very close to her mother, and their relationship sounded sweet. But did anyone else catch that Gone with the Wind moment? I think she was my only woman friend. Also, BD, Betty's daughter, aka Sally Draper, is so cute. The fourth episode is called More or Less, but I think it should be called Real Hollywood and Women. Even though Baby Jane is a hit, Joan Crawford and Bette Davis aren't getting any offers for any other roles. They react so differently. Joan Crawford wallows in self-pity, while Bette Davis goes out of her way to run an advert for herself in the paper. Their reactions are so fundamentally different because their personality types are the complete opposite, being the whole catalyst for the feud. The first time I watched this, I watched it on iPlayer, and now I'm watching it on Disney+. And has anyone else noticed the weird black gaps between some scenes where advertisements are obviously meant to be put in, and they've just left the gaps that bit too long? Anybody else picking up on that, or is that just me? Episode 5 is The Winner Is, the Oscar episode. It is a classic in so many ways. I love the long tracking shot of Joan Crawford backstage at the Oscars. What Joan Crawford does to Bette Davis here is so low down and petty, and everyone can see she's doing it, even Head of the Hat. But this is womanly bitchiness on the extreme. I love Joan's Oscar outfit though, very Silver Moon Goddess. I also want to take a moment to talk about the intro and all the lovely silhouettes. I love that sequence. It's very Nia DaCosta. I love her work, but I don't know if this is her. I couldn't figure that out. I googled it. If anybody knows, please hit me up and let me know. Episode 6, Hagsploitation. What a word. I feel sorry for Joan Crawford in this episode. Yes, she can be a horrible bitch, but she has also had a very hard life. Her brother Hal makes me shudder, and to think about her mother and stepfather, ridiculously bad. But per put upon Mamacita, played by Jackie Hoffman, she is so dour it's hilarious because she is also so dry with it. I would love to watch Whatever Happened to Cousin Charlotte though, with Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. I think that would be an interesting pick, and I love southern plantation houses and that sort of movie. But screw that. You know what I really want? A Whatever Happened to Mamacita spin-off. Episode 7 is called Abandoned. Bette is so petty and vindictive in this episode, and you know she's just getting back at Joan Crawford for stealing the Oscar. Joan, however, in this episode cuts off her nose to spite her face. Joan is so desperate, it is sad to watch, and Betty keeps twisting the knife. I'm glad Mamacita finally left Joan, though. You go, Mamacita. Also, Betty's daughter BD's fiancé is so awkward and funny. I love the fact they had a secret wedding just to spite Betty, even if the age gap between BD and her new beau is weird. The finale is called You Mean All This Time We Could Have Been Friends? This finale is so sad. Joan Crawford dies, forgotten and friendless, and it's painful to think of anybody ending their days that way. The world loves putting women on a pedestal and then tearing them down. It still happens today. I feel sorry for Bette Davis as well when her daughter cuts all contact with her, but Betty did bring it on herself and wasn't overly caring or considerate to BD. Overall, Feud is a great show, just as good on the second viewing. I'm now planning to read the book this show is based on, called The Divine Feud. I hope it is just as good. IMDb gives Feud 8.4 out of 10, and Rotten Tomatoes gives it 95%. I give it a solid 9 out of 10. The only thing I would have added would have maybe been some flashback scenes to their earlier careers. The final scene is great. If not for external noise, Bette and Joan could have been friends. If you like this video, be sure to leave me a comment and subscribe so you won't miss my next review. I'm thinking of reviewing Fosse and Verdon. Until next time, try and remember what happened to Baby Jane.